Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is February 10th, and today's episode is going to cover rPIP 64 reaching quorum. That's some administrative stuff. We're definitely going to be talking about the amazing price action of Rocket Pool's token RPL. We're also going to be talking about Rocket ARB and how it's helping rETH, and we're going to talk about a whole lot more. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Okay, so let's get some official protocol stuff out of the way before we move on to the more exciting stuff. This stuff's kind of boring. It's not really boring, but compared to the price action, it is a little bit. So here, we covered rPIP 64 last week, and we said one of the big people who still had not voted was Patches, and how Patches was away skiing, so he wasn't able to vote. But Patches was back, and he says yes, voting now, but then maybe not. And then he was actually able to try voting again a little while later and get his vote through. And that was able to get us to quorum. So let's go and have a look at the vote website, and you will see here that the vote is still live. However, we have now reached quorum. We are at 107% quorum. So votes for are votes for are 14,900 or thereabouts, which is 99.19%. Votes against are 126, which is 0.84% against. The abstain is 0. Now, if you have a look, that's quite straightforward. We were just waiting for it to hit quorum. The votes against all kind of make sense. Like, they're quite self-explanatory. It's a technical, like, it's not really like a deep change. It's just changing some parameters and values and making sure everything's kind of lining up properly. But the people who voted against it were mostly voting. This person here voted about like the quorum and how it doesn't make sense, which is most of it. And then another person who voted against was saying that the percentage is too small. We've got to engage with the community. We move too fast on our current position until Saturn. We must revert to 14% pools with 10%. So this person is basically saying undo Saturn 0 with their note. So that was making up almost all of the against vote. So two people, one of them I think had a misunderstanding of how the quorum works and how it all adds up, and the second one was using it as a protest vote. So yeah, that's almost definitely going to go through now, unless something absolutely astonishing happens where people who've already voted in favor of this couldn't change their vote and vote against this, which is very unlikely to happen. This is going to pass and come onto the network on February 16th. So that's awesome. Okay, now let's talk about some fun stuff. And the fun stuff, of course, begins with this post on 2 days ago on Saturday night. And this was from Shifrin, who checked the RPL price, and it was showing that it was up 20%, and that was up to $6 from around, it was $6.76, sorry, from around $6 earlier on in the day, or a bit less than that, but even down to like the fives, during Friday and parts of last week. So Shifrin says, RPL pumps 20%, no one says anything. And what happened is some people had actually bought here. Gator bought in the $5 range. Halulu bought in the $5 range. And Val was joking about the price pumping. And basically what's happening is that there weren't even that many people around. So in some ways, it was like the most chill pump that I've ever seen in my time in Rocket Pool. Like it was late on a Saturday night. People were, I guess, doing other things, and those was around one. Actually, when talking about the price that much, even though the price had pumped 20%, like it just warranted a few messages back and forth, and then people started talking about the Super Bowl again and all this other stuff. However, not long after that, the price actually moved up a bit more. So my guy here says, "Why is RPL up 30% on the day?" And then Brent says because it's down 74% on the year, which I think is a low blow. But yeah, and then it was actually up even more. The ratio was doing well because ETH was actually going down slowly, but RPL was strongly going up, and it was looking quite good. So then yeah, that's my guy. And then I put out this tweet saying, hey, did you see that RPL tokenomics and Rocket Pool Tech are all fixed now? It's really great that how that's happened over the last couple of hours. And I put a screenshot from Binance showing the price change going up to $8.53 and showing an increase of 50% in the previous 24 hours, which of course is really nice. We're not going to say no to that. But some of the comments were kind of funny and some of them were kind of less funny. Like this person here showed the 1 year chart showing price being down way bad. But I said, why do you got to show me that? But then the person who really got the message here was Nelson saying, well done to the team, 24 hours of incredible technical effort. I said, you got it. So yeah, the price went up nicely. That of course is always, it's nice for it to go up nicely instead of for it to go down nicely. Sneaky Ninja Guy had this idea that it was this person buying who left a comment on Reddit saying, I understand that many earlier Rocket Pool node operators got burned due to RPL and have a very sour taste about Rocket Pool and won't return. But isn't it a fact that now the protocol is changing form? It's again attractive to operators. And as for end users, rETH holders, I suppose the experience was good earlier and still is, cheaper than central exchanges in fees and more tax efficient in most countries. And Sneaky Ninja Guy says, this is the most positive thing I've read about Rocket Pool on in a hot minute. That's on Reddit. But I wanted to take a quick minute, to say that, in the past I have said that being a node operator is good for you, and at that time it wasn't good for you. So yeah, people kind of got burnt because of entering at a time when it wasn't, I guess, it wasn't sensible for them to enter. However, AAJ094, I think does make a good point here. When if you do think that Rocket Pool as a protocol does have some future, which I do think that, although you might not think that, that's fine. But if you're watching Rocket Pool, I do think that you probably do think that. But if you think Rocket Pool has a future, and if you think that Saturn 1 and Saturn 2 are going to show some growth for a Rocket Pool, at that point then RPL does become an interesting proposition, and it does in some ways make sense to think about getting exposure to it potentially and seeing how it might impact your portfolio. I am in no way, shape or form making any recommendations for you to do that. What I'm saying is go do your own research. I got burned in the past by telling people to become Rocket Pool node operators, and even if there was one person who did it because of listening to me, I hope it wasn't just because of listening to me. I hope that they went and did their own research and found out why it was good for them. But even if there was one person who became a node operator because of me, which I think there were a few, it does pain me, and I've kind of learned from those mistakes I made at that time. But yeah, I'm not saying that I'm going to make the same mistakes again, but I think AAJ 094 has a good point here. So yeah, maybe you can do your own research. Okay, let's have a look at the chart of what it looked like. So, last week it was down to $5.30, and this was, during the 8th, even on the day before the pump happened. It was down to $5.51, down to $5.51 on Binance. That was the low point it hit, and then it kind of grinded along all afternoon and into the early evening. And that's when these huge buys, I don't know if you can see the spike on the volume if you're not watching, it looks like the chart, this is the 1 hour chart. So it looks like it's flat with very, very little volume. And all of a sudden the volume has a huge spike. The price, the volume going up to over 500,000. And that's 500,000 RPL, I think, not $500,000. So that's a big spike on, or maybe $500,000 actually on the 1 hour, which is a big spike. And then kind of going down a little bit, but still the volume being a higher point than it was before the pump, and then having another pump. So the price peaked at $9 on Binance, and then it wicked down to around $7.34, and then it went up to $8.91. So it had this kind of double top movement, but the price is holding up quite well. It's still ticking up. It's currently at I want to say nearly $8. Let me check. Yeah, $7.85. And like I said, the price currently is slightly ticking upwards. So hopefully it'll move up again and break through that $9 range and then hopefully head up. It looks like the technical analysis shows that the next move up should be somewhere around $12, hopefully, if you believe in that kind of stuff. But yeah, from the low, at $5.08, RPL is up around, I'm going to say 60% or so from that point, which is pretty strong, and hopefully it can keep bouncing up from there and climbing against ETH and against the US dollar as well. But yeah, it was a very strong performance. So let's actually go back to the Discord. And one of the things that people have been recently talking about is that RPL's been losing ground to all these other tokens, and that has definitely been the case. Like until this weekend, Lido was hitting new highs against RPL, and we talked about it recently, right? About how against ETH, a lot of these tokens have just bled against the ETH, but against RPL, some of them were outperforming RPL instead of, especially in the short term. So here, Lido's LDO token, lost about 50% of its value from, well, not 50%, sorry, about 40% of its value from the top of that move to the bottom, when the bottom here being good for RPL. So yeah, you can see the chart on the thing. It's retraced a little bit since then, but it still hasn't gone all the way back. Again here against the STETH, sorry, what is that? STETH, I don't know what that is. But anyway, here, I thought it was using EtherFi, but no, it's brought up the wrong chart, so that's okay. But here against SD, the Stater token, for example, around the election time, they had a huge pump, and then it dumped, and then it pumped again, and then dumped again, and then it slowly was grinding up against RPL, but now it's gone back to that, the price of that first pump where it was. So it looks like, it's kind of regained some of that ground that it had lost in the last few months against those tokens. And I'm hoping that, from here we can build a good platform and keep regaining that ground and outperforming a lot of these tokens, the liquid staking governance tokens, like the protocol tokens, but also the wider ETH economy and ETH itself, of course. Okay, so let's talk about the exit arb now. So there's been a few developments on the exit arb front over the weekend, and a trooper here came up with a dashboard saying that if anyone's interested in exit arb stats, you can have a look at this dashboard that was made. So that was actually pretty cool. The dashboard is not too complicated. There's not too much information there, but it tells you how much ETH has been put through the deposit. The exit arb. So there's 7,000 ETH has been distributed through there, and of that, 41.41 ETH has been given back to node operators exiting as profit, and it's been used 153 times, and the fees that people have paid are 0.1288 ETH. So if we have a look over here, it had a spike in towards the end of January, but then kind of came down a little bit. And then as the DPEG got worse, above 1%, then you could see that a whole lot of people, over 1,000 validators, were exiting. Sorry, 1,000 ETH worth of validators were exiting there, and more than 1,000, 1,200 pretty much on the 8th. And then on the 9th, we had a 670. So the impact that this has had, of course, is that the peg is getting close back to, where it should be, back to peg, the rETH price in the secondary market. But here, Jasper put out a Twitter thread about this yesterday, saying the rETH discount is dropping over the last month, LSTs across the market, so massive sell-offs. The rETH exit arb has enabled node operators to permissionally profit by exiting pools. So that has been $17 million in ETH buy pressure. So let's dive in. So Jasper says, first, a brief explainer. So when rETH is at a discount, node operator can bundle an exit with an rETH burn, and that then helps it come closer to peg. It says, for example, at the peak discount of 1.1%, a person could get around a quarter of an ETH per validator they were exiting. Jasper then explained that from the high of minus 1.1%, now it's back at around minus 0.4%. So it's closing a big chunk of its discount. And then Jasper shared information from the dashboard showing how different how many times it's been used and how much money was made. And then he says, without using this tool, the exits would have been captured by, MEV bot, but they're going to get no sandwich today. And then the profit they made obviously is pretty nice. So that's pretty awesome. So how what kind of impact is this having on the protocol? You might be asking. Let's have a look. Like Jasper said, the deposit is the discount is getting smaller, and then Halulu here worked out a few days ago. He says that we need around 7,500 ETH worth of exits to get to peg. So this was on the 7th, and since then we've had some exits. Yoakum today showed the latest up-to-date information showing that the pending beacon full withdrawals are at 255. That's and then the pending mini pool full distributions is 89. So pending total exits from Rocket Pool is 344. And the total ETH that will bring to the deposit pool is 8,184 ETH. That of course is including, like when Halulu mentioned the numbers on Friday, 7,500 ETH at that time. And we saw that nearly 2,000 ETH had been exited between that point and now. So with Joachim mentioning this number, this is going to hopefully get back to peg. There is a little bit of further nuance here. We'll get to that in a second. Here non-fungible Joachim says, right now, assuming no further sell pressure, there's more than enough exits to get back to peg. And then, that's fine. We just saw the information already. So what Joachim was saying here is that's kind of crucial. Here you can see that people have been using it here as well. So this person subalpine for ETH is using the ARB as well, and actually was able to earn like a nice little chunk of ETH from those distributions. So that's pretty good for them. And now when we look at this exit though, one of the things to keep in mind is like this amount will get us back to peg if a couple of things happen. One, there's not more sells on the secondary market, which there might be, because people might be thinking in their minds that getting back to peg will be a temporary event. So if the rETH gets back to peg, then they could sell into that temporary event to get out at the value it's supposed to be before it depegs again. Thereby, they're causing further depeg. And the second thing is that as the peg gets smaller, then the exit arb reward gets smaller and smaller as well. So as Jasper was saying, like a couple of days ago, people were earning up to 0.25 ETH per validator. That number is down now to 0.1 ETH per validator, which is 66% reduction in the rewards that you get. As that reward gets smaller and smaller, fewer and fewer people will be willing to use the exit ARB. So what might happen at that point is that there's like a kind of equilibrium between the price people are willing to accept for exiting and getting the ARB versus the price that people want to sell at and are willing to eat that discount. So that might kind of hit an equilibrium there, and then we might see that sustained for a while until the market conditions change. However, what's really interesting to note is that the Contango partnership and campaign that we have at the moment, if you had gone long on rETH when on rETH against ETH when the discount was 1.1%, and if you did that a few times and now you were going to close that, you would have profited so much. Like, your profits would have been multiplied by many months worth of staking rewards within the ARB opportunity that you were kind of using. So if there's other things that kind of come along like that, where it's profitable to, leverage, go long. And if market conditions change as well and people just want to go long, then it makes sense to leverage along with rETH in that case. Then we could, get back to peg, and that could be sustained where, the people who are willing to exit at peg, they kind of get balanced out against the people who are going long on rETH. So the goal is, we get back to peg, so people who want rETH can then just get it from the deposit pool, which will then get the mini pool queue moving, and it'll get back into like a nice zone where we can kind of help the protocol grow. Right now, sadly, the protocol of course is getting smaller. in order to get to a position where we can hopefully get bigger. So it's a really strange position that we're in, but sadly we just need to get this fixed as soon as possible. Okay, we already looked at that. Okay, this weekend we saw the end of the latest GMC round. That was round 21 that ended. So that was the deadline for that was on February 7th. And it looks like we had about 5 or 6 grant applications, and we had 2 retroactive award applications as well. So it was a bit of a quiet month for the GMC with around 6, I think, or 7, something like that, applications to have a look at. Now the next round 22, has already started, and that will run until March 7th. So if you want to submit a grant application, if you want to submit a bounty request, or if you want to have some kind of retroactive funding, then definitely go and check out the round on the forum and check out what you need to do in order to submit that work before March 7th. Okay, moving on to some Ethereum news now. And the first piece of staking news. The first piece of staking news here is that there's this paper that Jan put out about de-anonymizing Ethereum validators. And this one's actually really interesting because when Ethereum validators are kind of like, interacting with the world, they do it in a peer-to-peer way. And that network kind of sends out information and everyone's kind of working together. And with that, working together, you are sending information back and forth. Well, what Jan and his peers have worked out here is that when you are sending that information, it's possible to de-anonymize people. And Jan says our paper demonstrating that Ethereum validators can be de-anonymized has been accepted to USENIX, Usenix Security 2025. I guess that's a conference. So Jan says the peer-to-peer network leaks a lot of information, posing a significant security concern while offering insights into voting-powered decentralization in Ethereum. So that's actually a really interesting piece of information here that's come out. And Nixo actually had an interesting point saying all the people saying this is obvious have no idea how science works. Putting it into a publication to make it accessible as an area of research is the basis for a solution, even if all the condescending SMEs and computer nerds already had this info up in their heads. And then there's an ETH research post that was written back in September talking about this, and with kind of sharing early versions of this information, so you can go and give that a read as well. And then there's a link to the paper that you can go and have a look at as well. So that's really interesting. Okay, next we've got news here of a new client update, and this is Nethermind. So Nethermind has released version 1.31.0. This is a release candidate. So this is mostly for people who want to participate in the Haleshki and Sepolia forks that are taking place on February 24th and March 5th. It's just saying that there's also world chain support and information there. So this is a release candidate. So there might be some bugs with it or something. I think it should be fine for you to use if you want to take part in those hard forks. If you are just a mainnet staker, then I don't think there's anything for you to do in this to upgrade. You don't need to. Like I said, in the days leading up to the different hard forks that are happening, we will be getting a whole bunch of these updates and a whole bunch of these client releases. So just keep an ear out for that, and you'll be able to stay up to date by keeping an eye on it. But also, if you're a Rocket Pool node operator, you can just update the smart node when it comes out, and that will have the latest versions of the clients for you. Okay, one of the things that people have been talking about Ethereum a lot recently is this built on Ethereum campaign that Anthony Sassano kind of started, and then it kind of gained a life on its own across crypto Twitter, with people kind of arguing against it, some people arguing in support of it, and other people kind of iterating on it. Well, Sleety, our resident brand and design superstar, decided to work with it a little bit as well, and came into the trading to kind of pitch some ideas and share his own ideas. And then he was iterating on some of the points with people in the community, and then actually kind of tweaked some of his designs, and eventually landed on a version that actually looked really good, and that was this version right here. if you can see on the screen, it's like a rectangle that says powered by Ethereum, and as you hover over it, the colors of the logo kind of shine in the Ethereum official colors, like those pastel colors that you see on the ethereum.org website. So that actually looks really, really cool. So cool, in fact, that it was noticed by Anthony Sassano and it was put on the Daily Grade today on Monday's episode. So huge shout out to Sleety for that awesome work. And I'm going to finish the episode with some other news. And the other news from today is from POAP. You guys all know that I absolutely love POAP. And POAP here have POAP.art. So they're relaunching that with a new version, and this is a sandbox, so they are having new canvases that you can draw on, and this is the first time there's been a canvas since, like, in the last few years. But this is something that used to, sorry, in the last few months, this is something that used to happen really often, like, you know, a couple of years ago. And it was the case that, like, there was a weekly one and people used to take part in it, and some of these looked really, really cool. Some of them looked really, really, really cool. This one here on week 38, 2021 was just a giant Rocket Pool logo, which is absolutely awesome. But like, Rocket Poolers were really, really involved in taking part in this art, which of course is absolutely awesome. But this is the first time a new one has started in a while. So if you want to have a look at it, you can go to sandbox.poap.art and you can see what it looks like. There's this tiny little Rocket Pool logo on there, but we don't have the actual design bots yet where you can kind of see the overlay and kind of fill it in really nicely based on that. I wrote my name on there, whack, in really small writing. I don't want to write it too big, but this is already looking like a nice little canvas. And I think that, you know, if this becomes a more regular thing, then people will make those tools again to make it really awesome. But if you want to play around with it, you need to have some POAPs that will be the entry POAPs. There's a whole bunch of them. There's like over 50 of them that you can use. And if you want to use the POAPs, then if you don't have any of the POAPs you want to use, then you can buy a POAP here. It says POAP Art Sandbox Artist February 2025, and it just costs 25 cents for you to buy. So on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all have a lovely day ahead, and I hope you all had a lovely weekend. It's nice when the price is up. That's enjoyable, and I hope it keeps going up for all of our sakes. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.